Today I'll be showing you how to build an upgradable guardian farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. You can start off with a teeny tiny little guardian farm like this that is super cheap and easy to build, and then as you get more resources you can upgrade it to an amazing guardian farm that gets you to nearly level 100 in 15 minutes. These guardian farms are all incredibly easy to build, they are incredibly cheap and super straightforward. Anybody can build these and you can start off small and work your way up over time. Another great thing about this guardian farm is you don't need to drain like any water. You build it right on the surface of the ocean. This is especially good for new worlds, realms, or just those of you who don't have that much time to play and you just want to build a simple and easy guardian farm to get a ton of experience really quickly. There's 3 different sizes of this guardian farm that you can upgrade to over time. There's the micro guardian farm with just 4 cells. That'll get you 14,000 items per hour. The medium guardian farm with 9 cells will get you 32,000 items per hour, and then the full maximum size farm with 24 cells will get you 46,000 items per hour, and will get you to level 30 in just over a minute. This guardian farm is also really lag efficient because it doesn't send any mobs to the nether and it doesn't have any nether portals, so you can build this on a realm or a small scale server or somewhere where you got other people playing, and then you can run it and not worry about lagging out the world. And when the farm's turned off, it's basically lagless because it stops all the guardians from spawning, so when it's off, there's basically nothing happening at all. So let's take a look at how this guardian farm works. It's actually really easy to understand. There are only 25 spots in the entire Bedrock Edition Ocean Monument that guardians can spawn, and I've marked out a few of them here with these pillars. Anywhere else, the guardians just don't spawn at all, which makes it really easy to build a farm for them. So basically, whenever you have the farm turned on, guardians will be able to spawn in these cells right here, and then we just have a simple trident killer that automatically kills them for you. If you're holding a looting 3 sword, that is going to apply the looting 3 effect to every guardian that is killed in the farm, giving you significantly more items. And all of those items are channeled directly to the player via some simple water streams. As you can see, there goes a bunch of experience and items, and then they all go up this water elevator and get delivered right here to the AFK spot. Even with this smallest of guardian farms, you still get a pretty constant stream of experience and items because guardian farms are just that powerful. I mean, honestly, look at this. We've been standing here for like less than a minute. It's crazy. When you have a 4-cell guardian farm, there's actually more guardians in the farm than it can actually kill because they just respawn that fast. And of course, when we turn off the farm, that is going to physically block all these spawning spaces, preventing new guardians from spawning. These mechanics apply to every size guardian farm that I'll show you how to build in today's video, and generally they just apply to every guardian farm on Bedrock Edition. When it comes to getting better rates out of your guardian farm, you basically just need to build more cells so that you can get more spawning spots. The more spawning spots you have in your farm, the faster they'll spawn and the better your rates will be. So of course you'll need 1 trident for every cell in your guardian farm. For a small farm, and it's not a big deal, tridents drop pretty frequently from drowns in the ocean, but if you're building a larger farm, you're probably going to want to get yourself a drown farm. Luckily, those are really easy to build. I got a link for you everywhere. You'll also want to put Impaling 3 on your trident, that way it kills the guardians in 2 hits. This will significantly speed up the farm, but otherwise you could just use a regular trident. Doesn't matter what durability it is, just throw it in there and it'll work just fine. And let's hop into the tutorial, shall we? We're going to start off by building the micro and then upgrade to the medium, and eventually we'll upgrade to the full-scale farm. The materials list for all these builds is down in the description of the video for your convenience. The first thing that you need to do is start off by finding an ocean monument, and pretty much any ocean monument will work, but you want to avoid ones that have ice above them. Of course, you'll want to go ahead and kill all the outer guardians, so that way you can actually work in the area. And you should probably grab a couple of sponges if you can find any. And now we need to find where north is. The easiest way to do this is to just grab a locator map, and your little arrow icon is going to be facing towards the top of the map. The top of the map is always going to be north. For reference, I'm always going to be facing this direction throughout the tutorial. That way you know how to orientate yourself when building. So the first thing that we need to do is go to the northwest corner of our ocean monument. So you should be facing the top left of your map over there. And we're just going to go down to this corner of the monument. You're just going to build up with a pillar of blocks directly directly off of this corner right here all the way up to the surface of the water. Now, keep in mind, it does not matter what direction your ocean monument is facing, so we're going to start marking out our spawning spots. These are the places that guardians will actually spawn in your ocean monument. Everything else is irrelevant, basically. So from your pillar, we need to go 1 block beneath the water, and then pillar out by 3 blocks diagonally with some standard building blocks. On the 3rd block, this is going to be your first spawning spot. So mark this out with a marker block, just something that's easy to recognize. And now we need to go south by 10 blocks, so you should be facing the bottom of the map over here. And we're going to go down by 10 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then on the 11th block, that is going to be your next spawning spot. So now we're going to go to the east, so face towards the right of your map, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and on the 11th block is your next spawning spot. And now we're just going to go back towards the north over here and do another 10 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then on the 11th is your spawning spot. Now, you'll notice that all of these spawn spots are lined up with one another. They are in a grid, but the grid is not evenly spaced. So now that we have our first 4 spawning spots marked out, we need to mark out the other 25. On screen right now, you can see a graph of where all these spawning spots are and the distances between those spawning spots. So every single one of these numbers, like 10 for example, is 10 blocks in between the spawning spaces. Hopefully that makes sense. You need to mark out every single one of these blocks in your ocean monument. Once you've marked out all these spawning spots, this is basically what it should look like in your Minecraft world. Guardians can still spawn in this farm because these are technically spawn columns, so they can spawn at these locations or anywhere below them. So what you need to do is go around the entire farm, and at every single spawn spot, you need to dig down through the monument until you reach a stone or whatever's underneath it, and just fill that in with a pillar of solid blocks, and this will prevent guardians from spawning in your farm. And once you have all of your pillars in place, you can go ahead and remove all of these counting blocks that you put in place. All we need to keep are the pillars and the marker blocks at the top of them. And now we're going to build the middle cell of our guardian farm. So go to the middle of the farm and face north. We're going to break out this block right here and the one below it and place in ourselves 6 pieces of packed ice like so. And then on the 7th block, we need a piece of soul sand. We're going to go ahead and basically completely surround this entire little ice stream with some solid blocks, and we're going to build that up by 2 blocks tall. So just go ahead and completely surround that like so. And now we're going to go ahead and place in ourselves a piston on this side right here. Break out this block, put in a block right here, and then another piston. Now we're going to place in ourselves a trapdoor on the 3rd block over, and a button next to that piece of soul sand. And we can just go ahead and put in 1 sponge in here, and that'll rip out all of that water for us. So technically, we just need to put in 3 pieces of glass right here, and then you can remove those 3 solid blocks if you feel like it. And that is what your middle cell should look like right now. Now we're going to go ahead and connect up this cell to the next one going north. So grab yourself 16 pieces of packed ice and just go ahead and place those in, and that should line you up with this one. And now we're just going to go ahead and break out these 2 blocks, place in some more packed ice right here, and basically do the same thing. So we need to surround this entire ice stream with a 2-block tall wall going all the way around it. And that's basically what it should look like. So now we're going to go to this cell right here, break out this block and place it in with a piston, get in our secondary piston right here, and then place in our trapdoor like so, and get in our sponge. You can actually go ahead and sponge out this entire like little trough of water if you feel like it. But going back to our cell, you can go ahead and place in your 3 pieces of glass back there, break out those 4 blocks if you feel like it. And that is our first 2 cells built up, and now we're just going to go ahead and expand that to the left over here. So go down to this 3rd block in, and we're going to break out these 2 blocks, and starting on 1 right here, we need to go over by 27. So that's 2, 3, all the way out to 27. Now you'll notice that that goes a little bit further out than our next spawning spots, and that's perfectly fine. This allows it to be easier to upgrade later on. But basically, now that we've gotten it out 27 blocks, we just need to expand these water streams until it lines up with our spawning spot right there. And for reference, this is going 5 blocks further out than your spawning spot. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But while we're here, we're going to go ahead and expand this water stream to the north and hook that into our 4th spawning spot, just like this. And there you go. Now you know the deal. We need to surround this completely with a 2-block tall wall of blocks and then drain it out. By the way, if you don't have sponges, you can just go ahead and fill this thing up with like some sand or gravel or really any block and then just mine it out, and that will also get rid of the water. And that's basically what it should look like once it's fully built up and drained out. Building up the left-hand cells is really easy once you have the walls installed. So we're just going to go ahead and place in ourselves a piston right there, and then of course get in our secondary piston on that block right there. And by the way, your top piston should not be waterlogged, so you can click on that with a regular bucket to get rid of the water, and your bottom piston should be waterlogged, so you can also click on that with a water bucket to waterlog it. Either way, we need to go ahead and place in a trapdoor on our 3rd block over, and then 3 pieces of glass above it, like so. And you also need to do this for that cell up there, of course. And now it's time to build the redstone line for our farm. So all we're going to do is place in ourselves a couple of solid blocks right here. We need a redstone dust, a solid block, redstone torch, solid block above that, and then getting yourself a repeater right there on 1 tick. Place in yourself a lever on the side of that block or above it or whatever and power that. And now we're just going to install a couple pieces of redstone dust in these areas. We need a couple of solid blocks to the right of our piston, a block above the piston, 1 right here, and another one just like that. And then we're gonna lead that redstone line into that block, get a 4-tick repeater right here, a redstone torch, and then a piece of redstone dust, which will power that piston down there. And whenever you unflick that lever, that one should retract, and this one should be firing. And now we're just going to extend that redstone line to the top cell over there. So get in yourself a slab right here, and a solid block, repeater, and a piece of redstone dust, and then just a redstone line going all the way up to here. At the very edge, we will need some solid blocks right here, and a repeater in the middle, and then it's just going to be the same style of redstone that we had for the cell down below. So redstone line going into a block above that piston, 4-tick repeater going into a redstone torch, and then a piece of redstone dust right there. And that is that cell completely done. So now you just need to wire up the left 2, which is also really easy. To make things simpler for you, I'd recommend going ahead and placing a lever right here temporarily, just so you can see when the redstone dust runs out. We're basically just going to run this all the way to the left until it runs out, which is right here. Replace those 3 redstone with 2 solid blocks and a repeater, and then at the edge over here, we're going to do the same thing. So we need a solid block here, and then a repeater in the middle. Let's run this redstone line up to the top right here, and then it's basically the exact same thing. So solid block and these locations, and then redstone dust leads into that piston, repeater on 4 ticks, redstone torch, and a redstone dust right there. If you unpower that, that's going to extend the lower one and churn off the cell. And the final one is of course really easy. We're just going to put in a couple of slabs right here so we can run a redstone line down until it's lined up with this piston. So just a couple extra blocks right here, and then solid block there and in that location, repeater on 4 ticks yet again, redstone torch, and a redstone dust. And that is actually all the wiring for your micro gardening farm completely done. And while we're doing the redstone, we're also going to place a solid block above where every single spawning spot is. And now it's time for the water streams on the left side of the farm. So we're going to start at this cell right here and place in a water bucket right next to that trapdoor. That's going to flow all the way out to here. And then on the 5th block in, we're going to place another water source. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Water source right here. And your water stream should look basically like that. Now we're going to go up to this one and place in another water bucket right there. Wait for that to flow. And then we're going to place in button and another water source just like that. And now for the right side water sources, we're going to go up to this cell and place in our water bucket right here. Let that flow all the way. And then we're going to have another 3-block long water source right here. And then just one more water source like that. Go 3 blocks over on this one and place in another water source with a button to the back of it, and that is that water stream done. We also need another button right next to that piece of soul sand. And then it's just filling in the water of this middle stretch, and that can be done basically however. I'm just going to do a button, let that one flow all the way, another button, let that one flow all the way, and then we need a 2-block stretch right there. And the last thing to do is to build up the AFK spot up in the sky. So we're going to build up the bubble column right here. This is going to be a pillar of blocks going all the way up to Y layer 89, and we need to do that on all 4 sides of that soul sand, of course. The easiest way to fill this up with water is to place one water source at the top of it, and then go down to the bottom and place in a piece of kelp right there, and then basically just build that kelp going all the way up to the top, and that'll turn it all into water sources. Once you've built up the entire piece of kelp, you can just go ahead and put your soul sand back in, and the entire thing should turn back into a bubble column. The next thing we're going to do is place a cap on top of that bubble column real quick, and then we need to place in ourselves some double chests. So they're going to be placed in right here, like a block forward of that. We're going to put in 4 of these, and then 4 hoppers into the tops of them, 4 hoppers into the back of them, and then 4 hoppers into the back of those hoppers, and that'll give you 2 times speed at each of these. So overall, that's going to be 8 times item sorting speed. Either way, we're going to expand out our glass blocks going over to here, and then break this out and place in a button right here on the end. And that's basically all there is to it. Your AFK spot is going to be right here at Y87, and you should be directly above the middle spawning spot. Now, if you expand the farm to be a 24 cell farm, so you build one at every single spawning spot, then your AFK spot is actually going to be lowered down to Y83. That way you can get the ones in the far corners to spawn. And that'll mean that no guardians will spawn in the middle cell of your guardian farm unless you lower that cell down by like 6 or 8 blocks. By the way, if you want to run a redstone line from your AFK spot down, it's basically as simple as a glass elevator where you stair step up the redstone. You'll need a repeater in there, and that's like the simplest but also the ugliest way of building a redstone line. And of course, the last thing that you need to do is go around every cell and throw a trident in front of the piston right there. Any trident at all will work. However, it would be ideal if you had impaling 3 on the tridents. So one last note, you're probably going to want to light up your waterways and stuff. That way hostile mobs don't spawn on this area, and that way you don't get drowns spawning in the water. And that is the micro guardian farm completely built up. Stay tuned to upgrade it from these rates to these rates using the medium guardian farm. If you're only building the micro guardian farm, then consider dropping a like on the video or sharing it around, and consider subscribing if you're new here so you see more Bedrock tutorials. But otherwise, let's take a look at how you upgrade this micro guardian farm. So as you can imagine, it is really easy to upgrade from micro to medium, or even medium to large. And the first thing that we're going to do is expand the 4 cell to a 9 cell. So we're going to build one there, and then these 3 cells over here as well. So starting at your bubble elevator, we're going to go ahead and grab a line of packed ice, bring that all the way south until you line up with your spawning spot right here. Remove these 2 blocks and put in yourself the rest of the ice. And then of course, just go ahead and surround that with a wall of 2 blocks going all the way around it. So once you've built up all those walls, go ahead and drain them out using some sponges, and then the pistons and the trapdoor and all the glass, that's all the exact same as all the other right-hand cells that we've built. So these 2 in the middle here. And then from there, you just place in yourself some water, let that flow all the way until the end. We're going to leave one spot dry, and then a button, and then the next water source. Break out these 2 blocks, put in yourself a button right there, and then put in another block to stop that water from flowing. That's it for the water streams, and then for the rest of it, we're going to go ahead and place in a temporary lever right here to power that redstone, and then build it going all the way along until it runs out. Remove those 3 blocks, couple solid blocks, repeater, and then get in yourself a slab right here and some redstone dust. And you guys probably get the idea from here on out. It is incredibly similar and basically exactly the same as the other sections of the Guardian farm. And then of course the redstone torch, redstone dust, and then you just lead this line of redstone dust into that block. Basically all the water streams, all the cells, and all the redstone are going to be incredibly similar to what we've already built in the micro farm. We're just kind of expanding it outwards. So next up, we're going to build up this cell right here, and you guys kind of get the idea. You connect it together with the packed ice, surround it with the blocks, drain it, and then you just put the redstone line on it and kind of set up a left-hand cell very similar to either of these 2. And this is what it should look like once that cell is set up. It's incredibly similar to what we've already built before, and the water stream is really straightforward. You just lean it into this one right here. To expand it eastwards, we're going to go ahead and line ourselves up with this main water stream right here and build up by 15 pieces of packed ice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, and then that should be 5 blocks past the spawning spot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you know the deal. Go ahead and just expand this little ice stream until it reaches up with that spawning spot, this one, and that one. And that's basically what it should look like. Now you need to surround the water stream with 2 block tall walls and drain the entire thing out. And this is what it should look like once you've drained it out. And this is what every cell should look like in this row. So build this up and have that be at this cell and that cell as well. And that's what it should look like once you have the redstone at every cell installed. And this is what all the water streams look like. It's basically identical to what the far left side of the farm is. And that's what the redstone looks like. Again, basically identical to the far left side, and it doesn't need to look exactly like this. It's literally just a redstone line, so as long as it powers it, it'll be just fine. So to give you a bit of a closer look at things, this is basically what it should look like, and it's really similar to what we've built up before. Of course, you need to throw yourself a trident into each one of these little cells right here, and then you are fully upgraded to the medium-sized guardian farm. So here are the rates of this medium guardian farm compared to the next level up, the full-size farm. Stay tuned to learn how to build that. Expanding it to the full-size farm means that we need to build cells at every single spawning spot going all the way around the edge of the entire farm. So it might take you a little while, but it's still just a super simple and straightforward process. If you manage to build the medium one, you should have no problem upgrading it to the larger one. So we're going to start at the south side of our bubble column here, and again, we're just going to bring out a line of packed ice straight to our spawning spot and build up some walls around that, drain it out, and then build up our little bit of redstone. And it's basically exactly what you would expect, and no surprises here whatsoever. So we need to do this little southward extension on the left side and on the right side as well. So basically, you're just going to copy this exact cell layout and move it down by, you know, 1 cell basically. And then you're going to copy this cell layout and copy it down by 1 cell. Really simple. And this is what all the southern cells should look like once you have them all built up. And now we just need to do the same thing on the north side, basically. So at this point, you guys probably understand the general concept that we're going for here. So again, you just bring out your packed ice, you connect it together, you build the walls, you drain the thing, you build the redstone line, and you put in the water streams. And it's basically going to be identical to the cell to the south of it. So we're just going to copy this exact cell design and put it right there. Same goes for this one. Copy this cell, put it right there. And this is what those 3 cells should look like once you have them fully built up and integrated into the rest of the farm. And this is what the farm should look like at this point. You're gonna have a total of 15 cells. So all we need to do is basically expand them going outwards. So this center water stream right here is gonna be used for all of these cells. Basically, all you do is you grab some packed ice and you bring it on over, and then, you know, surround it with blocks, drain it out, and build up some redstone. And they're gonna be opposite cells of these. So this cell is a left-handed cell where the items go out the left, and we need to build right-handed cells like this one where items go out the right side. So we're going to build this cell design and all 5 of these locations going up. So this is basically what it's going to look like when you have this built up. And of course, to connect it together, the redstone line, you just bring that straight across, and we're just going to have a straight redstone line like that. And we can actually remove that piece of redstone dust right there. So there you go. We just need to do this, you know, 4 more times. And this is what the entire row should look like once you've built it all up, connected all together, put in all the water streams, and added all of the redstone. So now that we have all of the left side cells fully installed and integrated into the system, all we need to do is do that on the right side. So it's basically the exact same process. You branch out with some packed ice, build it up, and then just connect it together. And this is what the cell design should look like, so you just need to build that up 4 more times at each one of these spawning spots. And this is what it should look like once you have all of them built up. Of course, remember to throw a trident in every single cell of your guardian farm. So if we turn on this lever right here, we should see the entire farm activate and all of our redstone lines flashing. However, the repeaters at all of our cells should stay on because they're on 4 ticks. And basically, as soon as you turn on the farm, you're going to start killing just dozens and dozens of guardians. It will take a few seconds for all that experience to travel up the bubble elevator. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the AFK spot does need to be lowered down if you build the full-scale farm. You need to lower down your AFK spot to be at Y83, and it should be directly above the center spawning spot. This means that guardians won't spawn here unless you lower down this kill chamber by like 8 blocks or something. And that's really all there is to it. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, then of course drop a like on the video, share it around so that other people can enjoy it too. Definitely subscribe to the channel, that way you don't miss more Bedrock Edition tutorials in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys down in the comments and in the next one.